Let's get a check now. The top business news stories. Our business editor, Kate Moody's here. Hi there, Kate.
Hi, Tom.
Now, France beginning a third lockdown tomorrow, much of France anyway. Businesses, of course, have taken a massive hit, and they're going to be looking for yet more help from the government, aren't they?
Yeah, we're expecting to hear that there will be more money coming for those businesses in the regions of France, including Paris, which are about to enter into a lockdown. The government has so far spent 160 billion euros on protecting households and businesses. That's the latest estimate from France's public accounts unit. For every month the entire country spends on lockdown, the government spends between 15 and 20 billion euros to help them. The French economy contracted over 8% last year, and the Bank of France is forecasting a fairly strong 5.5% rebound this year, although these latest lockdowns could throw that off slightly. Unemployment peaked at 9.1% before settling at around 8% by the end of last year. That's a relatively low number, thanks in large part to the emergency support measures which were financed by the government. That includes a furlough scheme, which has seen the state pay up to 84% of paychecks for workforces affected by the pandemic, and which cost the government some 27 billion euros last year. Businesses have been able to defer the payment of payroll taxes and had access to state-backed loans or grants from so-called Solidarity Fund. Well, that health crisis and restrictions have affected practically every sector of the French economy. That includes auto body shops. With less traffic on the roads, there's less demand for car repairs, and nearly a third of mechanics say they're at risk of going bankrupt. James Facina reports.
At first glance, it could seem like an ordinary day. But mechanics at this garage in Toulouse, in the south of France, now only repair about a dozen cars a week, down from 25 a week before the pandemic. With road traffic down by 70% at times, lockdowns and curfews meant fewer accidents and smaller knocks. But that comes with a price for garages.
This is a small hit, a little scratch on the bumper, but we barely get these kinds of repairs anymore. People wait before getting repairs done because of these uncertain times. They only really bring their cars to us when they have to get bigger jobs done, and they don't have the choice.
As a result, diaries are half empty, far from the 1 month waiting time before the crisis.
As soon as a customer walks through the door, we jump on the diary and book them in for the following week. But if you take a look, it's still almost empty. So far, we only have 4 people coming in next week.
And there's no end in sight. France's Garages Association says a third of garages in the country are at risk of going bust.
In 2020, the number of garages going bust was at a record low. That trend will continue this year thanks to the help from the government. But I think 2022 will be a totally different story.
And it isn't only garages that are affected. 75% of workers in France's car industry say they're worried about the future.
The number of Americans seeking unemployment benefits rose slightly last week, bucking a downwards trend that had raised hopes about a labor market recovery. 770,000 new applications were recorded across the country. That's up from 725,000 the previous week. It's a far cry from the nearly 7 million claims in a single week last April, still more than 3 times higher than the average was a year ago. 18.2 million Americans are still receiving some kind of unemployment benefits. That includes the pandemic program, which was renewed as part of last week's $1.9 trillion stimulus and rescue package. Employers added nearly 380,000 jobs in February, but the head of the Federal Reserve has warned this week that some 10 million more people need to get back to work before the central bank can consider adjusting its monetary policy. Let's finish with a look at the day's trading action. The major European indices closed higher. Investors around the world boosted by yesterday's Federal Reserve meeting, which upgraded its forecast for U.S. economic growth and promised ongoing support. The DAX outperforming up over 1%. The CAC 40 nearly flat in Paris. The FTSE 100 gaining about 1/4 percentage point as the Bank of England kept interest rates on hold. We've seen a mixed session for Wall Street turn downwards in the last hour or so of trading. The Dow Jones had breached new record highs earlier in the session, but it has now turned below the flat line there. The Nasdaq doing particularly poorly today, Tom, down over 2% as tech stocks way down trade. I'll be back with the closing word on Wall Street in just over an hour's time.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed for that. Our business editor, Kate Moody. Thank you.